Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja, coming up in the next hour. US President Donald Trump says Gaza ceasefire not in danger after Israel launches airstrikes on Gaza. Hurricane Melissa makes landfall in Jamaica, causes extensive damage, churning towards Cuba. North Korea test fires cruise missiles ahead of Trump-Xi meeting in South Korea. Rio de Janeiro police launches their biggest ever raids on the city's drug traffickers, leaves at least 64 dead. And India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to address Maritime Leaders Conclave in Mumbai, also chair the Global Maritime CEO Forum. So let's start the bulletin with news from West Asia. Israeli planes launched strikes in Gaza on Tuesday after Israel accused Hamas of violating a ceasefire in the Palestinian territory. But US President Donald Trump brushed off the risk to the ceasefire. This is the latest test of this fragile ceasefire deal. In Gaza City, an Israeli strike that killed several people hit a residential building near Shifa Hospital, the largest operational hospital in northern Gaza. 2 people were wounded in an attack on a tent in Zawaida in central Gaza Strip. US President on Wednesday said nothing would jeopardize the ceasefire in Gaza, but added that Israel should hit back if its soldiers were killed. A statement from Israel said Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu ordered powerful strikes on Gaza. Defense Minister Israel Katz accused Hamas of carrying out an attack against Israeli forces in an area of the enclave that is under Israeli control. Both sides have accused each other of ceasefire violations. The issue flared up when Netanyahu said Hamas had violated the ceasefire by turning over some wrong remains in the process of returning the bodies of hostages to Israel. Israeli forensics said the remains handed over on Monday belonged to Ofir Zarfati, an Israeli killed during Hamas's October 7, 2023 attack. Zafarati's remains had already been partially retrieved by Israeli troops during the conflict.
Israel received the remains of a deceased hostage from Gaza, and following the identification process, it was determined the partial remains belong to Ofir Zarfati, a 27-year-old who was murdered in Hamas captivity after being kidnapped from the Nova Music Festival. The IDF rescued his body from Gaza in November of 2023, where he was later buried in Israel by his family. In March of 2024, additional remains of Ofir were returned to Israel for burial.
Under the ceasefire terms, Hamas released all living hostages in return for nearly 2,000 Palestinian convicts and wartime detainees, while Israel pulled back its troops and halted its offensive. The US-backed ceasefire agreement went into effect on October 10th, halting 2 years of conflict triggered by deadly Hamas-led attacks on Israel on October 7, 2023. Hurricane Melissa is heading towards Cuba as a powerful Category 4 storm after crossing Jamaica as the strongest storm to ever hit the Caribbean in modern history. Even as the hurricane's worst moved on, Prime Minister Andrew Holness declared the island a disaster area, and authorities warned residents to remain sheltered over continued flooding and landslide risk as dangerous weather persisted. Melissa struck land near Jamaica's southwestern town of New Hope, packing maximum sustained winds of 185 miles per hour, the U.S. National Hurricane Center said in an advisory well above the minimum strength of a Category 5 storm, the most powerful level on the Saffir-Simpson scale. The scale of Melissa's damage in Jamaica wasn't yet clear, as a comprehensive assessment could take days, and much of the island was still without power, with communications networks badly disrupted. The hurricane was the worst to ever strike Jamaica, hitting land with maximum wind speeds even more potent than most of recent history's most brutal storms. These include the brutal storms of the recent past, including 2005's Katrina, which ravaged the U.S. city of New Orleans. The still powerful Melissa was set to hit Cuba as soon as Tuesday night and later the Bahamas. Cuban authorities said that they evacuated about 500,000 people. In the Bahamas, next in Melissa's crosshairs, the government ordered further evacuation for people living in southern parts of the archipelago. Nearby Haiti and the Dominican Republic have faced days of torrential downpours, leading to at least 4 deaths. On to India's south now. Severe cyclonic storm Monta weakened into a cyclonic storm over coastal Andhra Pradesh. The cyclone is likely to move nearly northwestwards across coastal Andhra Pradesh and maintain its intensity of cyclonic storm during the next 6 hours and later weaken further into a deep depression. However, gusty winds and moderate rainfall are likely to occur in southern districts of Odisha, particularly in areas bordering Andhra Pradesh. Meanwhile, as per reports from our correspondents, no significant impact of the cyclone has been observed so far. The system monitored continuously by Doppler weather radar at Machilipatnam and Vishakhapatnam. In addition to coastal observatories, the cyclone will likely move nearly northeastwards across East Central Arabian Sea for the next 36 hours. Cyclone Monta made landfall on Tuesday, crossing the Andhra Pradesh coasts. Continuous rainfall lashed Odisha and Andhra Pradesh. Due to the impact, Patrapur received the highest rainfall of more than 117 millimeters. Due to the constant rainfall, about 5,200 people have been evacuated in the district. Chief Minister of Odisha also reviewed cyclone situation at the state control room to review the arising situations. And DD India correspondent Ravi Shankar joins us from Guntur in Andhra Pradesh. Ravi Shankar, what damage has been caused in terms of loss to crop area and loss of lives so far in Andhra Pradesh?
Yeah, good morning. Yesterday, the rainfall, Monta's landfall started by 7 p.m. in the evening, and it was concluded by 2:30 in the midnight of yesterday. And in this process, very many electric poles and trees they just got de-earthed, and because of that, no major incident have took place in Andhra Pradesh, and no human loss is also there. But the state government it is taking all the precautionary measures to give relief to the people. At about 75,000 people have been evacuated from the impacted areas of Andhra Pradesh, and they have been shifted to at about 2,200 rescue centers, which was arranged all over the coastal area, maybe in 8 districts that are being worstly affected by this. And the government has taken most measures like landing NDRF and SDRF teams in all over these 8 districts, which are on their job now to conduct rehabilitation activities. And the government has taken medical facilities also. It has arranged 320 medical camps along the 8 districts. And it is the weather forecast. In the coming 6 days, there may be heavy rainfall in one district of Andhra Pradesh, which was worstly affected by Monta. And in more 8 districts, there may be moderate rainfall.
Yeah, so as you mentioned about the heavy rains across Andhra Pradesh, what is the advisory saying for today? Has the red alert been, lifted from the state?
Yeah, in those districts, a red alert has been issued, and the government of Andhra Pradesh it is using modern technology like anything, because for every 1,000 number there will be an SMS sent to general public mentioning the precautions they have to take. And till date, at about 333 crores SMS has been sent in the form of alerts to general public, so that they will remain in their home coming out, and they will take measures like preserving electricity alternatives and all.
Okay, thank you very much, Ravi Shankar. And let me now also go across to Ritesh Ranjan joining us from Chennai on the impact of Cyclone Monta. Ritesh, how much rainfall has been recorded in Tamil Nadu due to Cyclone Monta? Also tell us the impact of the cyclone so far.
Well, impact of cyclone was, the various part of Tamil Nadu have faced severe, moderate to severe rain. And talking about Chennai, Chengalpattu, Ranipet, Tanjavur, Theni, these districts and Western Ghats, these districts have faced a severe rain. And it is it was said that from the meteorological department that it will rain till morning, till Wednesday morning. But relief for Chennai and Chennai people and nearby district people that from yesterday night it stopped raining. The major concern was because of this continuous rain from Monday. The reservoir and lakes, which is the water which is coming to Chennai. These were 95 more than 95% of the capacity was full. And that is why the water resource department have to actually release the water from Ranipete and Chembarbakam reservoir. And because of this, many areas got flooded. But the major concern when it was, if these waters, if it continues raining, the flood-like situation may occur. Even though there were some areas where waterlogging and flood-like situation occurred, but yeah, it was taken care. More than 700 vehicles were there on road, deployed by Chennai Corporation to actually deal with such a situation. If any area which is flood-like situation or waterlogging problem is there, 700 machines and more than 1,000 workers were there on road, working on Warford to deal with such kind of situation.
Okay, thank you very much, Ritesh Ranjan. As situation returns to normalcy, we look forward to updates coming in the next few hours as well from you. Thank you very much for joining us at the moment. Still to come on DD India News Hour. Colombian President Gustavo Petro accuses the US of using anti-drug strikes as a cover for invasion, oil control. NASA's X-59 jet completes historic supersonic test, paving way for faster, low-noise air travel. And 10 European tourists and a Kenyan pilot killed in light aircraft crash in the country. Investigations underway.
This week on Defense Dynamics, India's aerospace ambitions soar higher as we decode the HTT-40 trainer aircraft. A closer look at the military combat parachute system, India's breakthrough in airborne innovation. We analyze the armed UAV Archer NG, a major stride in indigenous drone warfare, plus a strategic perspective on the Pak-Afghan conflict and its regional fallout. Catch the sharpest analysis of power, posture and technology this Wednesday at 8 p.m. IST only on DD India.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. when supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I am Tanvita Neja. More from Asia. US President Donald Trump arrived in South Korea for the final leg of his Asia trip, with high-stakes meetings expected with Chinese President Xi Jinping and South Korea's Lee Jae-myung. Trump is due to address a summit of CEOs and meet with Lee in Gwangju. At the top of the agenda will be unresolved trade agreement between the US and South Korea. The two allies announced a deal in August under which South Korea would avoid the worst of the tariffs by agreeing to pump in $350 billion investments into the United States. But talks over the structure of those investments have been deadlocked, and officials from both sides have said that Trump and Lee are unlikely to finalize an agreement. Trump has also pressed allies like South Korea to pay more for defense. And South Korea has sought reforms to US immigration laws to allow for more workers to build factories after a raid on a Hyundai motor plant in Georgia. Meanwhile, North Korea has test-launched sea-to-surface cruise missiles off its western coast a day before US President Donald Trump began a visit to South Korea. According to the Korean Central News Agency, the missiles were fired vertically from the Yellow Sea and flew for more than 2 hours. The tests were overseen not by leader Kim Jong-un, but by senior military official Park Jong-chon. Kim's absence follows a similar omission in the last week's report on test firing of several hypersonic missiles. The US president has expressed an openness to meeting with Kim on the sidelines while he visits South Korea, while Pyongyang has not publicly responded to Trump's offers. And DD India's Akshay Dongre joins us with more details on the story. Hi, Akshay. So Trump's meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping will mark the final leg of his tour in Asia. Is the meeting less about reaching a grand deal and more about achieving a sort of a ceasefire, a trade truce between the world's top two economies?
Well, that is how the world is witnessing this particular meeting, Tanvi. You're absolutely right. Because as far as a trade deal between South Korea and US is concerned, it's not of much ramification for the rest of the world, as the kind of trade tussle that's taking place between the world's two biggest economies. One, the United States, and then you have China. And, in the recent days, we have seen that despite avoiding massive tariffs on the Chinese economy and the Chinese imports coming in, Donald Trump had, resorted to application of quite high tariffs on the Chinese goods and several Chinese items that are coming in the US. And China has responded in certain ways as far as its restriction of export of rare earth minerals are concerned, other kind of exports that it does. The kind of trade tussle that's going on is creating a lot of uncertainty in the global markets. There is a lot of uncertainty in the global growth of economies, especially with the biggest two economies in sort of a cold war. And it's getting intensified with each and every passing month, with no impasse in sight, anywhere. So this meeting in Guangzhou is going to be quite important as far as the hopes of the two biggest economies reaching an impasse, reaching some sort of agreement to not getting involved in further trade wars and find some sort of a trade deal, find some sort of a place where both the economies are comfortable doing business with each other, and that is where the global economies are focusing on at this point in time. And actually that is one meeting which will have the largest interest from the entire world, as far as South Korea's countries coming together, and bilateral and multilateral summits are concerned. A meeting between Trump and Xi is going to be perhaps most important, and the one with most ramifications for the world.
Indeed. Let's talk a little bit about North Korea also. While the main agenda is this year's APEC summit and talks are going to, feature around trade, there's also someone who is not attending this meeting, Kim Jong-un. Trump has expressed a willingness to meet him, but we saw that Pyongyang hasn't responded so far. So is it certain now that a Trump-Kim meeting is off the cards for now?
Well, Tanvi, for something that we have learned from Donald Trump's policies and his geopolitics understanding of how he interacts with leaders is one thing, that nothing is certain. We can't be sure of anything. Anything can change at any point of time. It is many a times also personal decisions of Donald Trump on how he wants to take diplomacy, how he wants to have bilateral meetings with world leaders, and it is we can call it whims and fancies, but it's not far from there, because if Donald Trump wants the meeting to happen and Kim Jong-un wants the meeting to happen, both the countries can come to some sort of an agreement. Then clearly there can be a meeting, but as of now there are no indications. But we can't be certain with Donald Trump at the helm of the US, and how he's going to respond to these kind of issues that his country faces.
Okay. Thank you very much, Akshay Dongre, for all those details. Moving on now to Rio de Janeiro. At least 64 people died in Janeiro's most deadly police operation ever, which targeted a major gang days before the city hosts global events such as that of COP30. Fierce clashes erupted when about 2,500 heavily armed officers backed by armored vehicles, helicopters and drones took part in the operation targeting Brazil's main drug trafficking gang in northern Rio. Police have often conducted large-scale operations against criminal groups ahead of major events in Rio, which hosted the 2016 Olympics, the 2024 G20 summit and the BRICS summit in July. But this was by far one of the deadliest operation. Next week, Rio will host the C40 Global Summit of Mayors Tackling Climate Change and Prince William's Earthshot Prize. The US Senate has voted 52-48 to terminate former President to terminate President Donald Trump's tariffs against Brazil, with 5 Republicans joining Democrats in a rare bipartisan support. The measure challenges Trump's national emergency declaration issued after Brazil prosecuted ex-President Jair Bolsonaro for an alleged coup attempt, but the victory may be short-lived. House Republicans are expected to shelve the bill, blocking its progress. Senate Democrats slammed Trump's tariff policy, accusing it of driving up the cost of food, clothing and energy for American families. More from the Americas. Colombian President Gustavo Petro accused the United States of using its military campaign against drug trafficking as a pretext for invasion. Speaking during an official visit to Saudi Arabia, Petro criticized U.S. attacks on vessels allegedly transporting cocaine, saying recent strikes in the Caribbean and Pacific appear aimed at seizing control of the Latin American oil rather than combating narcotics.
There is no need to fire missiles. It's absolutely ineffective. And this action doesn't seem to be really aimed at seizing cocaine, but rather at an invasion, which is also absurdly illegal and has more of an objective oil than defending American society from illicit drugs.
The remarks came as U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth announced on Tuesday that a series of strikes against suspected drug vessels in the Eastern Pacific killed 14 alleged traffickers and left 1 survivor, the latest operation in President Donald Trump's counter-drug campaign. The Pacific strikes are part of a broader U.S. military build-up in the Caribbean that includes guided missile destroyers, F-35 fighter jets, a nuclear submarine and thousands of troops. The Ford Carrier Strike Group is expected to reach the Caribbean in the coming weeks. At least 10 strikes have been conducted in the Caribbean and Pacific since early September, raising tensions with Venezuela and Colombia. Trump has also authorized the CIA to conduct covert operations in Venezuela. Now, news of the shutdown in the U.S. Republican and Democratic leaders in Congress continue to trade barbs and accusations while remaining far from breaking a shutdown impasse that has now stretched to 4 weeks. A coalition of Democratic-led states filed a lawsuit on Tuesday to stop President Donald Trump's administration from suspending food aid benefits starting on November 1st amid the ongoing U.S. government shutdown. Attorney General and governors from 25 states and the District of Columbia filed the lawsuit in Boston federal court after the U.S. Department of Agriculture said that it would not use $6 billion in contingency funds to pay for supplemental nutrition assistance program benefits, also known as food stamps. Democrats said that they will not vote to resume federal funding unless Congress also addresses subsidies for 24 million Americans due to expire at the end of the calendar year, while Republicans said Congress first must pass a temporary spending bill that would allow the government to reopen. More news from the U.S. A judge on Tuesday tightened oversight of federal agents involved in President Trump's immigration crackdown in Chicago after video showed Border Patrol official Gregory Bavino throwing a tear gas canister at the protesters. Judge Sarah Ellis sharply rebuked Bavino, ordering him to appear in court daily and to wear a body camera himself. The footage linked to Trump's Operation Midway Blitz has sparked outrage and lawsuits accusing federal agents of excessive force and civil rights violations. Ellis demanded detailed reports and body cam videos on all uses of force against protesters and bystanders. The Chicago crackdown, marked by tear gas and violent confrontations, has ignited widespread protests and legal challenges against Trump's aggressive immigration policies. NASA's X-59 supersonic jet completed its first test flight over the Southern California desert on Tuesday, marking a major milestone in aviation. The experimental aircraft, developed with Lockheed Martin's Skunk Works in Palmdale, aims to break the sound barrier quietly, reducing the traditional sonic boom to a soft sonic thump. Measuring nearly 100 feet long, the single-engine jet climbed smoothly after takeoff and headed towards Edwards Air Force Base, accompanied by a NASA chase plane. Built to reach Mach 1.4 at 55,000 feet, the X-59's design could pave the way for quiet, faster commercial flights over populated areas. NASA says this initial flight tested basic systems and airworthiness, launching a new era of low-noise supersonic travel. Russian Defense Minister Andrei Belousov has held talks in Moscow with his Syrian counterpart, Morhaf Abu Kasra. During the negotiations, the sides discussed the practical implementation of promising areas of bilateral cooperation. In mid-October, Syrian President Ahmad al-Shara visited Moscow and met with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Putin pledging to honor all previously signed agreements between the two countries, a commitment seen as a signal that Russia's two main military bases in Syria remain secure. On to Africa now. In Kenya, 8 Hungarian and 2 German tourists were killed along with a Kenyan pilot when a light aircraft crashed in the country on Tuesday. The aviation authority said the plane was traveling from the resort town of Diani on the Indian Ocean coast to Kenya's Masai Mara Reserve when it crashed. Smoke rose from the wreckage of the plane, which came down in a forested area in Kavale County in Kenya's southeast. Kenya's government said investigations had been sent I beg your pardon, investigators had been sent to find out what had happened. The airline, Mombasa Air Safari, said that it was cooperating with the investigations. Back to Asia. Pakistan has said that the negotiations for a lasting truce with Afghanistan had failed to bring about a workable solution. The Istanbul talks aim to secure peace after the deadliest border clashes between Pakistan and Afghanistan in years, which erupted following explosions in Kabul on October 9th that the Taliban authorities blamed on Pakistan. Relations have soared over unverifiable accusations from Islamabad that Afghanistan harbors militant groups which stage attacks in Pakistan. Kabul has consistently denied and rejected these allegations as baseless. You're watching DD India News. Are still to come on the show. President Draupadi Murmu to take a Rafale fighter jet sortie at the Ambala Air Base amid tight security today. Delhi conducts first ever cloud seeding operations to tackle air pollution, records light rainfall. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I am Tanvi Taneja. Under the theme Uniting Oceans, One Maritime Vision, India Maritime Week 2025 is underway in Mumbai from 27th to 31st of October. Hosted by the Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways, India Maritime Week 2025 is said to be the world's largest maritime gathering, bringing together key stakeholders from across the global maritime ecosystem. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address the Leaders Conclave and the Global Maritime CEO Forum during the event today. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit Mumbai on Wednesday to address the Maritime Leaders Conclave and chair the Global Maritime CEO Forum at the India Maritime Week 2025. The Global Maritime CEO Forum will bring together CEOs of global maritime companies, major investors, policymakers, innovators, and international partners to deliberate on the future of the global maritime ecosystem. The Netherlands Minister of Infrastructure and Water Management, Robert Tiemann, who will be part of the CEO Forum, spoke to DD India about strengthening bilateral cooperation between India and the Netherlands in maritime and water management.
Memorandum of understanding, different types of topics are on there. For example, the training of the maritime professionals, but also table topics like the water quality, topics like the maritime agenda to manufacture vessels.
The Prime Minister's presence reaffirms his vision for a progressive maritime transformation aligned with the Maritime Amritkal Vision 2047. With over 350 international speakers, India Maritime Week 2025 is said to be a hub of industry expertise and strategic dialogue. The event will witness the signing of more than 600 Memorandum of Understanding, amounting to investment commitments exceeding 10 lakh crore rupees. The 5-day event brings together over 1 lakh participants from 85 countries, including 500 exhibitors, 350 speakers, and 12 concurrent conferences and exhibitions. India Maritime Week 2025 showcases the country's maritime resurgence and its vision to transform the nation into a global maritime leader by 2047.
India Maritime Week brings together policy, community, technology and business under one roof shaping blue economy's future. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's participation underscores his commitment to the vision of Maritime Amritkal Vision 2047. With camera person Kapil Maske, this is Shama Mishra for DD India, Mumbai.
And let's now connect with Shama Mishra joining us from Mumbai with more. Good morning, Shama. India's maritime sector has made major progress over the past 11 years, focusing on self-reliance and indigenous capacity building. So what role is India Maritime Week playing in maritime transformation in the country?
Well, Tanvi, India Maritime Week, as we all know, that it has been there since 2016, and every 2 years we do see it has been held in Mumbai in major places. And this time around it is at UNESCO, which is a huge place, and we are also seeing that a huge place for the exhibition is also put up. So close to 350 people are speakers over here. More than 85 international speakers are over here. 85 countries rather are participating, and we understand that India is going to lead the global maritime sector, and that is what is the vision of the Indian maritime sector under the Maritime Amritkal Vision 2047. Today, when the Prime Minister comes over here and he addresses the Global CEO Forum as well as the leaders meet, he'll also be visiting the exhibition stalls. It definitely showcases the Government of India's commitment towards this particular vision and towards achieving it. We also understand that there is a vision to lead the global maritime transition by 2047, and India definitely wants to be in a place where it can be called as a Vishwaguru. We all understand that India's motto Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is one motto wherein India is bringing all the countries together, and this India Maritime Week is one place where all the countries are coming together, all those people, all those countries who are associated with the maritime sector, and this particular sector plays an important role. In India, we understand that there is more than 7,500 kilometers of coastline, and there are not many ports which are available. There are major ports which are run by government, and this is one particular opportunity for PPP and private players to come forward and have this particular potential fulfilled, because the inland waterways, the domestic waterways, even the international trade and the way of sending things from here to there through maritime is huge. And in India, we understand that 90% of the global trade, Indian trade, is done by waterways. And in value it is 75%. So there is a huge potential over here, and when we want to transition this particular sector, the development we want to transition, we definitely have to keep in mind the sustainability, the technology, and we definitely have to digitize things. So a lot of initiatives we've already seen, and in the last edition of India Maritime Week, we did see this particular Maritime Amritkal Vision 2047 was unveiled, and before that we have seen that Sagarmala schemes and under various campaigns, this particular sector is getting a major fillip. We also saw that under the PM Gati Shakti, various multimodal potential is also getting generated over here. And when we talk about new ports, this one particular area is having a huge potential. Here in Mumbai also, when we are talking about new ports coming up, there is a huge potential for even smaller ports and non-major ports to come over here. As we speak, that India has 7,500 coastline. There is a huge opportunity for domestic waterways also, and a lot of thrust is being given. Here in Mumbai, we've seen recently that water taxis have begun, and various other modes of transportation is also connecting that. Even the Navi Mumbai airport, the new airport which was recently inaugurated in just this particular month by Prime Minister, this will be one airport which will be connected through waterways. So we understand PM Gati Shakti, the Indian waterways, the domestic waterways has huge potential, and this particular Maritime Week is that one place which gives people an idea, a checklist basically of what is there in store with India and also with the other countries. You've heard in my package where the Netherlands had an MOU signing on the first day with our Union Minister of Shipping. So under this MOU, a lot of skill-based opportunities will be will be there, and we also understand that hydrogen generation from India. Netherlands would be taking a lot of hydrogen in the coming years from India, because India produces a good amount of hydrogen, and Netherlands and all those countries at that side cannot be producing because of the climate, the way of climate over there. So India has a huge opportunity over here, and sharing best practices, knowing what is there in store, knowing the expertise of each country. This one particular area where the Indian Maritime Week can actually, go ahead and tell everybody that this country has this expertise and the best practices can be shared. Today is day 3, and at evening, Prime Minister Narendra Modi would be coming, and I've mentioned that he'll be addressing 2 gatherings, and he'll also be visiting the exhibition stall. So on day 2, yesterday, we did see that close to 38,000 crores, the MOUs were signed, and you've also spoken earlier that close to 10 lakh crore, the MOUs would be signed. So it is expected that this particular week would be generating a lot of MOUs and MOUs between countries, MOUs between states. This is big opportunity for every coastal state and for every coastal country which is there and wanting to, transition from the current position that they have in the maritime sector, going forward to a transformational maritime sector. And India definitely is looking ahead to be a Vishwaguru in this, to lead the global maritime sector by 2047. Tanvi.
Okay, so we look forward to Prime Minister Modi addressing the Maritime Leaders Conclave and the Global Maritime CEO Forum there this evening. Thank you very much, Shama, for all those details. President Draupadi Murmu will take a sortie in a Rafale fighter jet in Haryana's Ambala on Wednesday. Massive security arrangements are in place in view of her visit to the Ambala Air Base, which is one of the crucial operational air bases of the Indian Air Force. On April 8, 2023, the President took a sortie in a Sukhoi 30 Make-1 fighter aircraft at the Tezpur Air Force Station, Assam in September 2020. The 4th generation and the most advanced Rafale jets were inducted into the Indian Air Force at Ambala Air Base. The jets were also used during Operation Sindoor, the military operation carried out by India against Pakistan following the Pahalgam terrorist attack. India's Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal has concluded his visit to Brussels, describing it as a visit filled with intense but very productive engagements with Maros Sefcovic, EU Commissioner for Trade and Economic Security, on advancing a comprehensive India-EU free trade agreement. He said talks have significantly reduced outstanding issues and created a framework that can deliver a win-win situation for both economies.
I believe the ongoing India-EU FTA negotiations has given us an opportunity to really create the framework which will help us in the long run bring our 2 economies closer together, integrate them into a relationship which will be a win-win for European Union and for India. The intense engagements that we've had have significantly reduced the outstanding issues between EU and India.
Commending the negotiating teams for their efforts, Union Minister Piyush Goyal said he looks forward to welcoming Sefcovic and the EU team again soon to work towards concluding the dialogue. Piyush Goyal's Brussels visit pushes India-EU FTA talks forward, narrowing gaps and advancing a balanced trade pact focused on market access, innovation, investment and shared economic growth. Moving on now, Indian Coast Guard successfully carried out a long-range medical evacuation of a critically injured Iranian fisherman from the fishing show located in the middle of Arabian Sea. The operation commenced when the Maritime Rescue Coordination Center, MRCC Mumbai, received information from Chabahar Center in Iran regarding a medical emergency and an engine failure on board the Iranian fishing dhow Al-Owais. The vessel had 5 crew members. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, Indian Coast Guard ship Sachet was directed to render immediate assistance. The tanker successfully administered telemedical first aid and stabilization under guidance from the ICG medical personnel. The mission highlights the Coast Guard's dedication to maritime safety and humanitarian assistance across the Indian Ocean region. Indian Air Force will host the Cyclone IAF Marathon 2025, a half marathon, 10-kilometer and 5-kilometer runs on 2nd of November that aim to unite fitness, patriotism and national pride under one banner. The main event will be flagged off from Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium, New Delhi. It will be simultaneously conducted at 60 Air Force stations across the country. The marathon stands as a befitting tribute to Flying Officer Nirmaljeet Singh Cyclone, the IAF officer who fought against all odds in the 1971 Indo-Pak War and was awarded the Paramveer Chakra, the nation's highest gallantry award. SIM 25 symbolizes the ethos of the Indian Air Force: courage, discipline and unity. It aims to inspire citizens to adopt a culture of fitness and resilience. The marathon is themed Run with Pride, Soar with Spirit. The Delhi government completed 2 consecutive cloud seeding operations on Tuesday as part of its robust air quality management strategy. With this move, the Delhi Environment Minister said that the national capital has taken an unprecedented science-first step by adopting cloud seeding as a tool to control air pollution. According to expert forecasts, rain after cloud seeding could occur anytime today, depending on cloud moisture. Initial weather radar readings and on-ground observations recorded light rainfall of 0.1 to 0.2 millimeters at the Delhi-Noida border around 4 p.m., indicating some positive response from the seeded clouds. The air quality has already started showing signs of improvement, giving hopes for further such experiments. Let's now understand how cloud seeding works. Cloud seeding is an advanced weather modification science intended to trigger or enhance rainfall from suitable clouds. A microscopic amount of silver iodide is sprayed across a propane flame. The silver iodide particles rise into the clouds. These particles enhance the cloud's ability to convert supercooled liquid droplets into ice crystals. Ice crystals grow big enough to fall as increased snow in targeted areas. Now, in the blink of an eye, a stroke or a brain attack can change everything: speech, memory, movement. But the power to prevent a stroke lies in our own hands. October 29th is observed as World Stroke Day. DD India's Preeti Kaur in the next report explores the dangers of a brain stroke and how to prevent it.
A stroke is a medical emergency that happens when something prevents the brain from getting enough blood flow. A blocked blood vessel or bleeding in your brain can cause strokes. At times, strokes are also referred to as cerebrovascular accidents or brain attacks. Ischemic strokes usually happen because a blood clot blocks a blood vessel connected to your brain. Hemorrhagic strokes happen when a blood vessel in your brain breaks or tears. One of the most effective tools for stroke awareness is the FAST method: face drooping or paralysis in the face. Also, one side of the mouth may droop when trying to smile. Numbness or weakness in arms and difficulty in raising the arm. Trouble speaking and understanding what others are saying. A person having a stroke may be confused, slur words, or may not be able to understand speech. Acting quickly when these signs appear can reduce brain damage and save lives. World Stroke Day is observed every year on 29th of October. The theme this year, Every Minute Counts, emphasizes on the critical importance of acting fast to recognize stroke symptoms and get immediate medical treatment. To prevent a stroke, one should focus on managing medical conditions like high blood pressure and diabetes and adopt a healthier lifestyle, exercise regularly, maintain a healthy weight, quit smoking, and limit the intake of alcohol. Having a stroke can be a sudden, life-changing event. But remember, recovery is hard work, but it is worth it. Preeti Kaur, DD India.
And some business news now. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang said on Tuesday that the artificial intelligence chip leader will build 7 new supercomputers for the U.S. Department of Energy and said that the company has $500 billion in bookings for its AI chips. Huang announced that the supercomputers NVIDIA is building for the Energy Department will, in part, help the United States maintain and develop its nuclear weapons arsenal. The supercomputers will also be used to research alternative energy sources such as nuclear fusion. The largest of the supercomputers for the Department of Energy will be built with Oracle and contain 100,000 of NVIDIA's Blackwell chips.
We're announcing that the Department of Energy is partnering with NVIDIA to build 7 new AI supercomputers to advance our nation's science. We now have visibility. I think we're probably the first technology company in history to have visibility into $500 billion of cumulative Blackwell and early ramps of Rubin through 2026. And as you know, 2025 is not over yet and 2026 hasn't started. This is how much business is on the books. $500 billion worth so far.
U.S. President Donald Trump said he would meet with Jensen Huang on Wednesday. Trump made the comment on Tuesday in an address to business leaders in Tokyo. NVIDIA said last week that Huang plans to meet global leaders and top Korean executives when he attends the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation APEC Summit CEO in South Korea.
We're speeding construction of AI infrastructure, bringing production of the critical chips and semiconductors back onshore, and I want to congratulate Jensen because he's been really amazing. He's an amazing guy, brilliant guy.
Next, let's understand why have stock markets around the world, from Wall Street to Tokyo, from Paris to Seoul, been striking record highs despite the uncertain political and economic outlook. With the post-pandemic surge in inflation largely tamed, central banks have been able to lower interest rates to support growth and employment. Lower interest rates make it less expensive and easier for companies and consumers to borrow money, thus favoring economic activity. The corporate earnings calendar also plays a key role in driving stock markets to record highs. Companies with publicly traded shares are required to regularly publish information on their financial performance, and these announcements can have a large impact on share prices. The boom in AI spending on chips, hardware and cloud structure also is contributing. Tech shares have helped Wall Street's 3 main indices hit record highs, as have chip makers listed on Seoul's Kospi index. Local political and economic developments have had relatively less of an impact on equity markets recently. A prolonging of the current U.S. government shutdown over a budget dispute could begin to unsettle investors, as likely would another collapse of the French government. And time now for some sporting action. First news from cricket. The 5-match T20 international series between the world's top 2 sides, India and Australia, is set to begin in Canberra today. India will look for redemption under the captaincy of T20 skipper Surya Kumar Yadav after the loss of the ODI series. The return of Jasprit Bumrah, rested during the ODIs, provides a huge boost to India's bowling attack. The Aussies have reinvented their approach under captain Mitchell Marsh. They've lost just 2 of their last 20 T20s thanks to the firepower of batters like Travis Head. However, with Adam Zampa unavailable due to personal reasons, left-arm spinner Matthew Kuhneman has a golden opportunity to make his mark. With the T20 World Cup just 3 months away now, every match, every experiment and every performance will matter. South Africa will hope to address their batting woes against Spain as they take on England in the first semi-final of the Women's World Cup in Guwahati. South Africa suffered 2 heavy defeats and their batting failed against Spain on both the occasions. They were bundled out for just 69 runs in their opening game and managed 97 runs against Australia in the final league game. South Africans recorded narrow and gritty wins over New Zealand, India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka and Pakistan to grab the 3rd spot in their standings. On the other hand, England finished second on the points table, winning 5 out of the 7 league games. They need to bring out their A game to progress to the finals. England will look to exploit the South African weakness against spin and rely on their all-round strength. And that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live. And you can also download our DD India mobile app for quick news and updates on the go. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.